In this episode, the twin sisters Osha and May meet up and talk. They're both played by the same actress Amanda Stenberg, and I can't look at her without thinking about her dancing in the diss track music video she put out. You know, the one where she said, "You have 72 hours to respond," and then when people did, multiple YouTubers are saying she copyright struck them, and the whole thing is a bit of a PR disaster. If true, Amanda is a straight up buster. Answers below, which is worse, Amanda's dancing or the witches of cringe? Yeah, editor, I don't want to look at that any longer. Can you put something else up, please? Irina Meyer again, the Ukrainian cosplay lady, I'll take it. This episode is quite short again, at 27 minutes, and what do you expect? Magic? Full-length episodes? They only had about $25 million to work with for this episode. What do you want? When the twins meet, this conversation takes place.
Hey, no. You're the violent one. You started that fire.
And yes, she absolutely did try and burn Osha alive.
I won't let you leave. You can't go. We're stuck here now. It's not up to you. You can't stop me. Yes, I can. How? I'll kill you.
You started that fire. And I would have been dead too if it weren't for the Jedi. They've brainwashed you. They've turned you against me.
You have done that yourself.
And why would she expect a happy reunion from the sister she tried to burn alive? They keep on hinting that the stone fortress somehow burning down wasn't May's fault. It was in fact the Jedi that did it. And if they do that in a future episode, this conversation will just be untenable. Because what possible reason is there for May not to tell Osha about that here and now? Osha just accused May of starting the fire that burns their whole family alive. This would be the exact time to tell her the truth, and she doesn't. Osha is not very happy with May. She says,
All of these lives lost tonight. Again, all because of you. The Jedi got what they deserved. Those Jedi were more my family than you ever were.
And will she please make her mind up? Her core motivations seem to change from episode to episode. Just last episode she was saying how revenge on the Jedi didn't matter any longer because her sister was alive.
I don't need to do this anymore. Osha being alive changes everything. My loyalty is to Osha, not your master.
Now she wants revenge on the Jedi again, and she knocks out her sister, whose being alive changed everything and was the reason for her living just last episode, and leaves her in all probability to get done in by a Sith Lord. In short, the writing in this episode was once again extremely shaky. This is the 5th episode and it hasn't managed to generate a single character that I like so far. Sol is about the best of the bunch and he's hampered by the actor at times really struggling with English.
Hey! You survived. You killed Indara.
It's not his first language, but there was some small light in this episode. I thought Manny Jacinto did quite well in it. This episode is mainly lightsaber fights in the dark between characters the show has barely bothered to write, or didn't bother at all. This one is going to start right out with spoilers. Episode 5 picks up right where 4 left off. May's secret Sith Master was about to attack the Jedi task force that had been sent to capture May. Well, kind of. We actually jump in mid-fight, and it isn't the worst fight choreography I've ever seen. It's in fact probably above average, but it raises so many issues, and this is yet another problem with doing prequels repeatedly. Almost everything that Disney has done with Star Wars is a prequel. Andor, Ahsoka, Rebels, The Bad Batch, Acolyte, Obi-Wan, Rogue One, The Book of Boba Fett, The Mandalorian. The problem with prequels is that this Dark Lord has some kind of armour on that causes lightsabers to fizzle out when they touch it, and that wouldn't be an issue in a sequel. You could have someone invent or find some new technology, but in a prequel, you are going to have to write in a very good reason why in films set later in the timeline, nobody is using that, or you will have just made a lot of characters in the other Star Wars films look very stupid for not doing so. Why would the Emperor not have built Vader's suit out of this stuff? The Sith Lord also uses force pull to drag a Jedi onto their blade, and this has been an outstanding issue for Star Wars for quite some time, because in reality, force pull and push would be unbelievably broken. Why have a sword fight when you can just move the other guy's arm from 20 meters away and have them impale themselves? The fight is quite brutal and the Jedi get cut down one by one, but it has all the impact of this. Because none of these characters even got names. They're showing me a fight between a Jedi that didn't even get named, or a single line of dialogue, and a Sith Lord that hasn't got a name either and maybe had 4 lines in 4 episodes. And for some reason the Jedi are happy to try to use lethal force on this guy. They just never did on May for reasons. I don't expect good writing from this show at all at this point, and I still think I've been giving them too much credit. This Jedi task force, remember, got sent in without the knowledge of the Jedi ruling council, and I'm sure they'll be overjoyed when they learn that this character sent the task force in and got 8 to 10 Jedi minced without bothering to tell the council, all in order to try to capture someone that did in 2 Jedi Masters that she also didn't tell them about. I also didn't think this was supposed to be Ki Adi-Mundi. I just thought it was another one of his species. I didn't expect them to write in a character to their prequel series that hadn't even been born yet in the established timeline. So yes, if anything, I've been giving them too much credit. The Sith Lord ends up fighting against Master Sol, and Sol sends away Osha and Yord, which doesn't make the most sense. You could fight him together but instead choose to split up. Then later they come back anyway, rendering the whole thing completely pointless. I also have no idea where Sol was during the opening fight sequence. We see a little of Sol fighting the Sith Lord and then it cuts away. The student Jeki also somehow got separated from the rest of the group and finds May, who she tries to capture, so we cut away from the Sith Lord to watch Jeki have a slap fight with May. Sol tells the Sith Lord to remove his helmet and the Sith Lord says,
You trained May. Show your face. And let you read my thoughts.
Oh no, so I was right then. So it's now established that the Jedi can do that, which is really bad for this story. Because in episode 2, when May and the apothecary poisoned Master Torban, the Jedi captured the apothecary and chose not to scan his mind. They asked him some questions and then let him go for cooperating, and big spoiler, as predicted, the Sith Lord is the apothecary that they let go after him being an accessory to the poisoning of a Jedi Master. This is once again completely untenable given what the series has shown. You wrote the Jedi as having the perfect ability to gauge the apothecary's guilt or innocence and then wrote them not using it. Why write them catching the apothecary in episode 2 at all? The Sith Lord being an accessory to poisoning a Jedi Master and then just staying there to get caught makes him look like an absolute moron, and the Jedi letting him go for cooperating somehow makes them look like an even bigger set of morons. Jeki wins the slap fight and cuffs May. I don't know why they keep on doing this simultaneous fights thing in Star Wars. They did the same thing in Ahsoka and it just makes it hard to get invested in either one of the fights. Meanwhile the Sith Lord breaks away from Sol, goes and attacks Jeki, and she holds her own as a student better than the trained Jedi did. For reasons. The Sith Lord is also trying to do in May for deciding to betray him and hand herself in to the Jedi. This will be important later. May gets away yet again, the Sith Lord goes after her, leaving Jeki behind. The Sith Lord removes May's handcuffs and then tries to impale her with his lightsaber, and if he was going to do that, why take the handcuffs off? The plot needed May to not have handcuffs on any longer, so the Sith Lord just did something completely nonsensical. He gets stopped by Sol as he tries to stab May, Jeki arrives and then they fight the Sith Lord together. The Sith Lord then does in Jeki. Oh no! She also barely got a character. After pulling out a second lightsaber, the Sith Lord does her in, that he could have used at any point up to now and just chose not to. Jeki also smashed his mask, so now we find out it was the apothecary all along. Sol is unhappy about what the Sith did, saying she was a child. And yes, it's a fair point. Why do the Jedi always take their students into war zones? Even when they thought they were going after May, this was someone who had beaten a Jedi Master in single combat, and the Jedi send a student along who hasn't finished training yet. Sol and the Sith Lord fight some more, Yord arrives and joins in, disarms the Sith Lord and then gets his neck broken, and then despite Sol having the Sith at his mercy, he lets him go. Osha tells him not to finish him off, for reasons. What even is the Jedi Code at this point? You can't attack an unarmed person, even if they just broke someone's neck while unarmed, but it's fine if 2 or 3 of you attack one person at once, so the Sith Lord gets away again. May and Osha have their scene and May knocks Osha out, cuts her own hair to match May's, then takes her clothes and goes to Sol pretending to be Osha. For reasons. May leaves Osha behind, unconscious on the floor, to be found by the Sith Lord, who's trying to put a lightsaber in May, and Osha looks identical to May. Remember, May's motivation just last episode was to reconcile with her sister. The Sith Lord spends most of this episode trying to lightsaber May for betraying him, then at the end, he finds someone unconscious that looks exactly like the person he was looking for, and he just doesn't do her in. The most charitable I can be is in assuming that the Sith Lord somehow knew it was Osha and not May. Characters just seem to forget core motivations to move the story where the writers want it to be, and it shouldn't ever be that way. It would be like Sherlock Holmes forgetting to be logical in order to get captured for a particular story. This series is shockingly poorly written.
The power of one! The power of two! The power of men!